If you've ever had that dawning realization that there might be a better way, you're in good company. It can feel really uncomfortable to suspect you might be wrong. After all, this could be wrapped up in our professional credibility and identity. We might worry about judgment from our peers or clients. But I have a question for you today. How brave are you? Have you ever thought about how much courage it takes to take on a new challenge, to learn something new? You have to be vulnerable. You have to own the gaps in your knowledge. You have to be willing to learn. It takes guts. But how much more courage does it take to wonder if what you think you know is right? How much more courage does it take to seek out another opinion, read another version, consider the counter-argument? How much braver is it to contemplate unlearning? Well, stick around because today I'll be digging into the process of going from mainstream sleep thinking to holistic sleep thinking. I'm Lindsay and I'm proud to be one half of the Holistic Sleep Coaching Programme, which has trained over 600 fabulous professionals, some of whom have had to do some serious unlearning. If you're committed to finding sustainable, creative, responsive sleep solutions that are gentle and respectful, then you're in the right place. Not every sleep coach starts off dedicated to responsiveness. We've previously spoken about the different types of training. If you'd like more information about this, check out our earlier videos on this topic. Of course, different parents want a different approach, and it's absolutely their right to choose whether and how they want to approach sleep, whether that's a wait it out, cry it out, or something in between approach. Not every one of those options will appeal to everyone, and that's why there are different sleep coaches offering a different type of sleep support out there. And that's okay. We're not here to challenge that. What I will keep challenging, though, is the lack of evidence base in some programs. It's okay to offer different sleep education that caters to sleep professionals who are ultimately going to be offering a different service. A holistic sleep approach won't suit a family who is 100% certain they want to use mainstream sleep training. But my issue is that many of the programs are still teaching their students false information, which doesn't serve anyone. So what kind of information am I talking about? Well, the cookie cutter stuff. You've heard a lot of these things, I'm sure. Set wake windows, 7 till 7 sleep, prescribing long naps in the dark, specifying naps of a certain length. Check out a video we made on this. Sleep regressions, we've got a video on that too. Misunderstanding sleep biology, we've got another video linked below on this topic. Or banging on about overtiredness. Guess what? We have a video on that too, and all these videos are linked in the description below. So much of this is taught as fact, without any balance or nuance or acknowledgement that some of these ideas are based on experience rather than science. And I've said it before, but we're all a little bit vulnerable to something called the illusory truth concept. This is the idea that we tend to add weight to pieces of information that sound familiar. So let's say you've been taught that sleep breeds sleep. It doesn't, by the way. But if you keep hearing this and you get taught this, and so does everyone else, eventually nobody can remember where you heard this or how to back it up. It just becomes substantiated purely through repetition and familiarity. Conversely, ideas that contradict these familiar concepts jar because they make us question what we thought was true. It's deeply uncomfortable. I'll share a story of someone we'll call Kelly. It's a very familiar tale and one that happens to me at least a few times a month. Kelly slid into my DMs on social media wanting to fact check something about sleep pressure and objective fatigue. She'd undertaken a fairly mainstream sleep consultant program which had taught her certain things that she later felt unsure about when reading some content on my social media. She wondered whether there was an explanation that meant the two truths could coexist, or was there ultimately only one right answer? She was beginning to feel a growing sense of distrust of what she'd been taught, and when she asked me about the sleep biology aspects, this made sense to her. The problem was that this meant much of what she'd been taught was now being called into question. So how does this feel? Well, I'll tell you. Some people fight against it. It jars and grates so much. It challenges them and what they think they know so deeply that it's easier to resist the new information and stick with the familiar. Some people get angry or defensive. That's because when we deep down realise that what we think we know might be incorrect, it makes us feel squirmy and uncomfortable. If we're incorrect, it means we might have given out incorrect information. It means we might have done it wrong. It means someone else might know more or better. Ouch! Some people also panic. They feel like, if this piece of information is wrong, what else is wrong? They can feel like a rabbit in the headlights, worried how deep the misinformation goes. So much sleep theory is connected that if one concept is flawed, it can call into question other concepts too. How did Kelly respond? Well, there's one response I've come across that I haven't mentioned yet. Kelly could see that the new, more nuanced and connected theory made sense, and she was appreciative and teachable. She felt like she'd learned a huge amount in that 3-minute voice note I left her. But even when fabulous people like Kelly realise that they have a learning gap and appreciate that what they've learned might have been based on opinion rather than fact, it still jars. No matter how gracious and humble someone is, unlearning is really hard. It's like unpicking a tangled ball of wool. You have to patiently work through the knots, the areas that don't have any factual basis or theory to back them up. There'll be parts that you know are useful, so we can't just throw it all out. We have to do the work, which in this case means going through all the information we hold in our brain and testing it, asking of each concept, does this make sense? Is this evidence-based? Who said so? What's the opposing theory? Is there another argument? So how can we move forward? How can we use the process to grow not only as a sleep coach, but also as a learner? How do we process the fact that what we've been taught is patchy or incorrect in places? And how do we plug the holes in our knowledge? Well, I've already shared some clues, but here are 5 ways you can move forward in your sleep story. Firstly, recognise that no course, no learning, no program is perfect. New knowledge continues to inform our practice, so look for course providers who continually update their information, hold themselves accountable for the information they teach, and offer ongoing learning and education opportunities. Secondly, stay humble. Nobody ever knows everything, and being open to the possibility that you might be wrong or could do better is what makes us safe, empathetic, and credible. Thirdly, read around, look up different viewpoints, consider the counter-arguments, ask why a lot. If someone cites a study, go find that study and read it for yourself. And fourthly, develop your critical thinking skills. Don't blindly accept what you're being told. Interrogate the information. Is it a trustworthy source? What are the biases? Is it current? Is there a conflict of interest? How are they evidencing what they're saying? Does it make sense? And finally, be teachable. Because learning is lifelong, we need to continually look to update ourselves. Sometimes that means reaching out to someone you trust for a fact check. Sometimes it means retraining, but we all need to maintain that attitude of teachability. Kelly isn't alone. As we ended our exchange, she expressed frustration that all sleep courses are different and not all of them teach exclusively solid information. She's like so many people who desperately want to make a difference to fatigued families and want to do so in a gentle and loving way, but are held back by the gaps in knowledge from their sleep course. The good news is that learning is lifelong, and having insider knowledge of the common sleep myths and mainstream advice is in some ways an advantage. So if this is you and you've been nodding along, I want to reassure you that no experience is wasted, but you can also move forward in your sleep coaching journey. If you're interested in supporting families by blending empathy and compassion with science and evidence base, then we would love to hear from you. The first step is to book a call and see if we're a good fit. All you need to do is click the link below this video. And if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Speak to you soon.